Welcome, 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 everybody. This is Jasmine Bailey back again. Yes, I said my first and last name to a Notch Higher Living YouTube channel. I am grateful to be back here, and I am here with another wonderful guest, a new brother in Christ. His name is Alonzo, but we call him Zoe. Hey, Alonzo. Hey, Zoe. How's it going?
What's good, fam? How you doing today, Jazz?
I am doing well. It is great to be here with you, and I am so grateful to get this kicked off. So, I am going to let everybody know, in this channel, it's a space that's created, and I cultivate an environment where healthy relationship skills can be learned, developed, practiced in order for them to thrive. And today is like none other. I've shared with you with someone else, Coach Candace, and I know Coach Zoe from the same community from Extreme Execution. And he is a wonderful brother, father, husband, business owner, and he's
Yeah,
all the things at the same time. I forgot he is a pastor as well. At the same time,
that
he is
part.
very aware of how people want to get into full time entrepreneurship, but sometimes there's a gap. So, the reason why me and Zoe are connected is that because we have that foundation of who we are as our natural styles, we know that in order to live and move and breathe in the world with other people, we have to have other people who are not like us in our community. But what does that look like? So I'm going to give Zoe the floor for him to share with you a little bit why we're connected, who he is, and what he's all about. And then I'll get into the interview. So, Zoe, take it away.
Awesome. Appreciate that. And appreciate that introduction too. Made me feel like I was somebody special.
You are, yes.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So as Jasmine already let you guys know, Alonzo Avents is my name. Most people call me Zoe. This has been my nickname since I was about 12 years old. I won't tell you the story behind that one, maybe for another day. But I'm born and raised Hampton Roads, Virginia, or the Tidewater area. It's a lot of different names for it. I'm from Portsmouth, Virginia, is where I'm from. Born and raised. I lived in Columbia, South Carolina now, which is where my wife Sade is from. And we moved here in 2015 for a few different reasons. One was because of her mom. Her mom was sick at the time, and she was started a new daycare and wanted my wife's help because she went to school for business. And long story short, I got led by the Holy Spirit. I did not want to move, didn't want to leave, right? But I was actually driving to work one night because I was on night shift at the time, and she called me, and she was talking, and I had already been praying and asking, like, God, like, what do you want us to do? What do you want me to do? Because I didn't want to leave home, right? And everything she was saying didn't even mean anything to me because she was, the Charlie
Yeah,
Brown could just want. So that's what was going on the phone. And while she's
got
talking,
it.
I'm praying and I'm thinking, like, what do you want me to do? And I felt it in my spirit. It was just like, go, just leave. I was like, man, I don't want to. And I was like, okay, I hear you. Her name is Mavis Hook. It's like, oh, all right, Mars, I got you. She's like, what you mean you got me? What you mean you got me? I was
Like,
like,
what? What does that mean?
yeah. I was like, we moving down there. She's got
Mm.
quiet. She was like, are you for real? I was like, yes, man, we'll be down there. She's got quiet, which not something she does often or did often. And she was like, well, I mean, like, how soon? I was like, give us a few weeks, we'll be down there, you know?
Wow.
So
Wow.
we made it happen. It was a tough move, but we made it happen. And I can honestly say it's been a godsend because I would
Mhm.
not have received my calling, I believe. And there's a lot of other things like in our relationship that we've gone through, experienced some trials that we would not have experienced had we stayed in Virginia. And ultimately, those trials are there to grow us, to prove
Got
us,
it.
right? Like
Mhm.
that's what he does with us. He
Yes,
puts us
yes.
in the environment, gives us the trial, the experience, so that we can ultimately grow and develop from it. So we moved down here. 2015. I received my calling in 2017 when I got ordained. Um, so as far as work, I'm in the nuclear field of the nuclear industry. I've been doing it since 2008. where I'm from in the Hampton Roads, Virginia area. It's called radiological controls. So did some training with Department in the Navy. Never was in the Navy, but in the private sector or the what do you want to say? I'll just call it the private sector for now.
Private. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
I'm gonna use the private sector because that's isn't okay. So there's a Department of Defense with
Okay.
nuclear aircraft carriers, submarines, overhaul, that kind of thing. That's where I started. Right
Okay.
now, when I left Virginia, I started traveling as a contractor. First, I went to the Department of Energy, and I went
Hmm.
out to Washington State. Did a brief stint with the Department of Energy, and I wanted to go to what is really the private sector, which is commercial nuclear power plants, right?
Okay.
And that's where I started after I left the Department of Energy, and that was in 2015. Right, so I've been in the private sector for about 9 years now. Yep, doing the same thing: radiological controls, RP, health physics. There's a lot of different names for it,
Hmm.
and it's been a lucrative career, lucrative skill. So I've been blessed in that regard, and I really praise God for that, because that also was something that I didn't see coming. Right,
Okay.
but in my experience, I was going to college, looking to be a nuclear engineer. I was going for mechanical engineering, and I was developing into the nuclear engineering space.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
I had to take account for who I am, and then also who, like, at least looking at my friends, talking to them, and they went straight to college, finished. I
Hmm.
didn't. Right, so
Okay.
I moved to Arizona when I first graduated. Within like 3 weeks after graduating, I moved to Arizona and was living in Phoenix. I went to
Oh,
school
wow.
there for game design, is what I thought I wanted to do. That lasted for 9 months, 10 months, something like that. And I
Okay.
realized, yeah, I don't want to do this. Right. Like I just didn't want to do it.
It
So
wasn't for you. Okay.
not at all. So I dropped out of that school and was broke, just trying to figure out how to get back in school, because my parents couldn't help me. I didn't have scholarships, and that's a whole
Hmm.
other story. Ended up moving back home, right?
Okay.
And I got introduced to the nuclear field. But while I was in this industry or in the nuclear field, my friends who graduated were still looking for work, working at Babies R Us or just random jobs, right? I was like,
Got it.
why would I
Mm.
try to go back to school? Like, it just wasn't making sense, right? And
Right.
in that
Right.
time, I got introduced to real estate investing. I started a network marketing business, um, was working that, and was just getting exposed to different ways of thinking, different lifestyles. I started reading books, right? Like, because I
Yes.
got to a point where I was working a lot of hours, but I was still broke, paying student loans, right? Just
Hmm.
rent, cost of living, car note, insurance, and trying
Yes.
to party every weekend. I was in my early 20s, and it got to a point where I realized, yeah, something's not working, because I'm putting all this work in, but I'm still broke at the end of the, like, it doesn't make sense.
Yes.
And I
Got
was,
it.
yeah, I was just praying and looking for something different. And that's how I started getting introduced to different ways of thinking. I got exposed to like I said, network marketing, but the main thing was the real estate investors that I met, started networking with. That was the
Me too.
pivotal piece, because I didn't own my own home at the time. And a gentleman that I met at one of the real estate investing meetings encouraged me to buy a duplex instead of buying a single family home. And
Okay.
when I did that and saw those benefits and some of the benefits of operating a network marketing business, I started to get results that I would never see at work. And it started to make sense. It's like, okay, so what I'm seeking to do, the lifestyle that I really want to live, I can't do it working for someone else. Right. So that
Hmm.
started to get solidified for me. So over time, seeing those things, experiencing those things, and then also learning and then associating with other people who were, chose different paths in life, I started to realize, okay, this is the route that I really wanted to go. And then over the years, it really started to come into fruition, and my journey is really being solidified. My path is being walked, I'll say. So yeah, hopefully that
Yeah.
answered all of the question. I know there's some things I could cover, but I don't want to go too long on one spot.
No, that was Perfect, and it was a great segue. Thank you for giving that background because I think sometimes we just go right into where we are now, and people don't know how we
Mm,
got there, so that was excellent.
yeah,
Thank you for sharing that and really teeing up to bring to the present now. It's 2024, um, and now you are at a point where, like you said, you are a real estate investor, you and your wife, you are working in a daycare industry because of the businesses, and you
yeah,
have other things going on
yeah,
that now that I hear that full part of the story, I understand, like, why you are looking to help other people to move from one state to the other state because you've been through, the multiple phases. So,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. So thank you so much for that. So I am going to just look at um this from a perspective. I want everybody to know what Zoe is going to be doing. And again, why we're connected, because he is um, opening up an opportunity for people who are business professionals, wanting to be and go into full time entrepreneurship because he's done it. He's seen the process. But what Zoe understands is that people cannot exist in business in silos. And unfortunately, a lot of times that's how people move. So, Zoe, I want you to take the floor for with this question. And I'm going to read it because it's something that I thought about, but I wanted to say it specifically and not make it unclear. So, for people who are business professional or working professional who wants to move into an entrepreneurship lifestyle full time, what are some of the benefits to intentionally building a community or village? Because I don't think we acknowledge that all the time. What is your answer for that?
Yeah, there are countless benefits. And just as you raised your question, and I just want to tell y'all this. I gotta say, so she mentioned, Jasmine mentioned that we're both from the same community with extreme execution, right? And
Hmm.
what you learn through more self-awareness and then also what we experience in that community is you realize that, okay, I operate best in this place, or I operate best in this space. So when Jasmine sent me the questions, I asked myself, how can I give the best quality in this short amount of time, right? So I know for myself and my style, sometimes giving myself some time to reflect so that I can really draw out what I want to say helps because my preference for communicating that kind of thing is really low, right? So I wrote a few things down and then we can converse about it. So what led me one of the biggest drivers for me into the community space was one verse. One verse. It was the eye is the lamp of the body. And where I was that the morning when I read that was I was really taking account of who I am and how I show up. And what I really thought about was my desire is to have a lifestyle to where money is never going to be an issue for myself, my children, or my grandchildren, right? And I want to
Hmm.
have the freedom so that I can do what God has really called me to do. But I don't have that freedom as long as I'm going to work for someone else and they determine my schedule, when I can take time off, how much I'm worth, right? I can't
Hmm.
have that in that space. And I was like, so like, where do I need to go? Now, what I realized was the community piece or the interaction. So I have a few friends, a few really, really close friends that I call brothers, right? Like it comes a point with me is like, okay, nah, you're not a friend. Like we brothers now, right?
I
We
love
brothers.
it. Yes,
This thing is a marriage, right? This thing is a covenant. Like
got it.
you, you couldn't get rid of me if you wanted to. You know what I mean?
Like I'm
Like
here.
that's just what it is. Now we might not talk as often as some people with their friends, right? And I had
Hmm.
to explain this part to my wife because she's like, "Why don't y'all talk?" So she's like, "That's just not what I do. I really don't." Right? But
Yeah, yeah.
what I realized was that in my close friend group, I didn't have people who had the same level of drive that I have, or were going down the same route. Like they had the same desires, but they didn't really pursue them per
Mhm.
se. They talked about it, but they didn't really do it. And I'm not that. I'm more of the person that I pursue it before I talk about it, right? Like that's just
Makes sense.
how I do things, right?
Okay.
So I realized that I needed more people around me who had the same, not necessarily the same drive, right? Or the same personality style, but we all have the same common vision, right? Because if the eye is the lamp of the body, then what's around me, what I'm observing, what I see is where I'm going. So I had to pay attention to who was around me, and so that we could build, so we could all touch and agree ultimately
Makes
and
sense.
going in the same direction, right? So some of the benefits that come from that is a lot,
Mhm.
right? And I'm gonna read those off, right?
Okay.
Knowledge, experience, resources, collaborations and partnerships, support, accountability, competition. Yeah. All of those things you get from community. And it's important because all of us need different things. So you
Mhm.
may be in a space, or we may be in a space where you're feeling discouraged, because that's what happens as an employed entrepreneur, going through
Yeah.
all those experiences, because life is going life, business is going business,
All
right?
day. Yep.
All the stuff is going to happen. Like, it's not an easy journey. So
Mm-mm.
when we experience those things or go through, it's best if we can have somebody that we can bounce ideas off of, who can
Mhm.
encourage us when we need it. Like, we all go through different places. So depending on where you are in stages, you're gonna need that community around you. And then you might just need accountability, right? It could be that you need some competition. It could be all of those things, because some of those
Yeah.
things, all of those things are healthy, right? So we all need different things. We bring different resources to the group, to the table, and we can share those things with one another to help and ensure one another's success, right? Like, all of those things come out of community, and they're key and very important, but ultimately all to overcome the work environment. Because if all we experience and all we see and all of our friends are just people that are coworkers, right? Who are just looking to work that 9 to 5 the rest of their life, retire when they're maybe 72, 75, whatever the new retirement age is. And we won't even talk about all the stuff with that, because, you know, money is go money as well.
Oh,
And
for
20,
sure.
24 years ago, what costs $100,000 is now $185,000 in 24 years. So you're going to need a whole
That.
lot more than you even realize 40, 50 years from now. Right. So, like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
understanding those things and someone bringing that to the table is like, okay, now we need to figure out how we can all acquire the, or get the desire that we want in our hearts, like go in the direction that we really want to go, and at the same time support one another in the journey in a healthy way. But that's those are some of the benefits, and those are, some of the initial thoughts I had when really going into building this thing out. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And I like how you broke it down because you understand the pieces and the nuances of things. So, and I am going to go back over that so I can get exactly all the points so people can say it: knowledge, experience, competition. Because you're right, with different people with different styles, there are different things that's necessary. But if we don't acknowledge that, it can go unaddressed, and you want to address what people are actually looking for in this specific space. So, one thing about the community that you and I talked about, and we talked about a both and versus a either or mindset,
Yeah.
which is more of a growth mindset, and building a sustainable business model. Can you share how the community will have that both and mindset versus a either or mindset? Because what you just express and explain, it's even going into that direction. Why is that important in this day and age?
Yeah. Man, it's possible. I'm gonna start there. It's
Okay.
possible, right? So, and the reason I'm starting there is because employed entrepreneurs, right? Even the name in itself is like, it's very specific, it's very clear. And even if you've never like, you've never conceptualized things that way, that's exactly who we are.
Mhm.
And that came from taking accountability of my own self. I was like, yo, so who am I best equipped to serve? I really had to get in that space. Who am I best
Yeah.
equipped to serve? And I was like, oh, myself. I know me more than I know anyone else. Right.
Right. Makes
So it's like,
sense.
okay, so what are the struggles? What are the challenges? And when I really considered or thought about it, I was like, okay, so I am an employed entrepreneur. I've done various and do various different things, but I also still work.
Mhm.
And in my experience, it has been necessary. Now, that's not the ultimate, right? Because the objective is full-time entrepreneurship,
Uh-huh.
right? That's the objective. So it's like working through that space. And like you said, that state. I like how
Mhm.
you use that. Working through that state to make that transition to be where you really want to be. And it's important to understand that some of us are going to be best in that both and space. And some of us are going to be best in the either or space because some people got to
Mhm.
just take the leap.
Got it.
And
Makes sense.
there's nothing wrong with either one. Neither one is necessarily right or wrong. So what I want to express in this for this question is like, okay, so since there's no silver bullet, and since we understand there's different personality styles, backgrounds, that kind of thing, is ultimately we're all here for the same reason. We're all here for the same reason. So it's like, okay, while my space is I'm going to do this build. I'm going to be in both spaces, which creates challenges. And then some people say, you know what? I'm going to just take the leap, which creates challenges.
Mhm.
Both of those challenges, both of those spaces, all of those experiences have solutions. And that's what's really important. And that's another one of the experiences or the benefits of community is you get that brainstorm piece.
Yes.
It's like, yo, I keep coming across this issue. I'm having this issue. And somebody else is like, oh, that's easy. Just A, B, C, X, Y, Z.
Mhm.
Oh, wow. I never thought of that. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what the community is there for, is so that we can
Mhm.
all bring out different unique gifts, talents, experiences, and say, oh, look, yeah, just just do this or just try this. Right. So yeah, while the name of the group is focused towards those who are, making that transition, employed entrepreneurs from that to full-time entrepreneurship. And yes, the majority of us, it's going to be likely that we're doing the both and approach,
Got
right?
it.
Because
Mhm.
there's some, oh man, it's just a lot of challenges in this world, between
Yeah.
healthcare coverage, between covering the bills on a day-to-day basis, retirement, long-term goal making, right? There's just some
Mhm. Mhm.
challenges and some things that we have to strategize for, which is what this thing is about, right? So we can actually execute. There's also the component of at some point you're going to have to take that leap,
Yes.
right? Because what one of the challenges that get created is the quality of service that you can actually provide.
Yes.
It starts to
Yeah.
take a hit
Mhm.
because you can't take those calls like you want to when you're engaged at work, right?
Big facts.
For
Yes.
this amount of time, whether it's, an hour or two or 6 hours or 12, like whatever yours looks like, at some point, you're going to build business to the point to where you're going to have to make a choice. And that's the
Mhm.
scary part. And that's again, benefit of community. Yeah. So I don't want to
Yeah.
spend too, like I said, I don't want to spend too long on that one question, but there's a lot that we can uncover or unpack on
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
No, I'm so grateful that you did take time to unpack that like that because I think in your answer and what I hear in your answer is what we don't often look at and think and consider because we're like, okay, I have to do it this way or I have to do it this way. But in the nuance of being an employee entrepreneur, there are so many things that people don't have to figure out by themselves. And when people are not accustomed to asking those questions, seeking help, or getting feedback, it becomes even more difficult to reach out with someone or
Yeah.
to someone. And like you said, you can have friendships and you can have people that you're close to. But if it's not in the same lane, it's not that those people are not valuable. It's just that you need a specific tool and they may just not have it. It's nothing against their personhood or their personality. It's just that you need something different and specific. So thank you for taking the time. And I hope that people hear that because that again is what creating a space and an environment where healthy relationship skills can be learned. And that can be business
Exactly.
skills, that can be entrepreneurial skills. That's why I word it that way, everyone, because we all need something specific, but then sometimes we don't even know what to ask. So when you're around other people, you may be able to get an idea and you may be able to hear somebody else's question and that answers your question. So you did
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
so perfectly. Thank you so much, sir. So I want to get into the logistics of this now because
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
going to be starting the community and we're going to be actually, I am getting on with, he will be my brother from another mother. And I've already called his wife, my
Let's
sister
go.
from another mister. So, like, you know what? This is going to be something over time. I do want to highlight this about Zoe. We are actually, we'll get more into the crux of this at a different time. Like our personality, our natural personality styles are completely different in the sense of like task and people. We all have a certain style. So I don't want to get into the crux of that, but we
Yeah.
are different. And at the same time, I want to highlight how he is willing to continue to be himself, allow me to be myself, and then say, like, hey, I understand. I'm not like you and you're not like me, but we can do this community.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a
yeah,
bar.
yeah.
That's a kind of bar. But I wanted to highlight that because when I've met Zoe, like even on, I've seen him on the coaching calls and everything because he's a husband, a father. I've seen him with his child. Like, and I told him when we were talking, I'm like, yeah, that guy has his baby. Like, participating in coaching calls. So I want to set that up as a picture for some people when he talks about both and what even intrigued me to listen to him differently because he's willing to say like, "Hey, no, I have a child. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I have a wife. I have things going on, but how can I make this work?" So, with that being said, Zoe is setting up the community where it will be bi-weekly and then he will be sharing with people and then can you share what people can expect with a bi-weekly call? I say bi-weekly, it's bi-monthly, so that's twice a month, excuse me. So, yes, twice a month, so bi-monthly, but then it's specifically done so in between that week, there can be some application. So I wanna set you up so people can know what to expect, and then we'll give them more details on how to, join the course.
Yeah, yeah. I appreciate that. So for one, before I even hop into answering that question, I want to point out that no, all these decisions ain't mine. Jasmine has
Mhm,
been helping me, right? And that's the important piece is it's not all about one person. It's a
mhm,
community, right? It's definitely a community. So as far as the calls are concerned, what you can
mhm.
expect is a whole lot of value. It's a whole lot of value. And what you may or may not know about somebody with my personality style is you can expect very quality information, condensed, but that it's going to take you a while to unpack and implement, right? So, one of the reasons why there's a lot of reasons why we say biweekly. One of them was that implementation. Another reason is obligations, right? So while this community is very significant and very, very important, like this thing where I desire it to be is is going to be like, okay, my relationship with God in church, and then I need to be plugging into my employed entrepreneur community, right?
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
be right, because it's like, okay, this is where I'm going in order to get what I need to show up the best for myself, for my family, right? And for the lifestyle that I'm working to build. That's where I really want this thing to be in a really healthy space to where we can really be kingdom built. Like, man, just imagine a community of people who really are really like, no, I'm gonna just operate in how God called us to be and who God called me to be every day.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm not greedy or filthy lucre. I don't have personal or selfish intentions, right? It's like, no, we like he called us to be together. So that's what we're
Mhm.
going to do in this covenant one another, right? And we're going to
Yeah,
build this
yeah,
thing out and then we're going to make the world look crazy for not coming to God. Right? So
yeah. I love
yeah,
that.
I really wanted to share that. So that's the piece. So now what you can also expect is hot seats, right?
Mhm,
Like some deep diving on how we're showing up, what we really need in our business to really build, right? You can expect some games. We're gonna be playing some games too. And it's yeah, for sure. Let's go.
Yes.
You know, so and I'm thinking about that piece there because I'm like, man, how can we really make this? Because I only know of the board game, but there is a digital one, but I never got it to work well. So I was like, I don't know if I want
Okay.
to try the digital and it don't work, you know? So I'm gonna
Right,
look
right,
into that
right.
some more. So everybody might just have their board and we'll be figuring that piece out. But you know, however it works out. So you can expect some hot seats. And if you don't know what that is, basically, what we'll do is one person will get on what we call a hot seat, or they'll have a spotlight on them, and they may be
Mm,
getting asked questions, or maybe um, that's what it is the community or the different people are asked that one person some questions so that they can either bring the value that we're looking to get out of them, or so that they can have their issue addressed. Like if it's something that a challenge they're experiencing, is like, okay, we can really deep dive into that, and then group wise collaboratively explore that and give this person some different ideas, some different thought
nice,
processes, so that they
nice.
can really take it back and say, okay, I believe this is the best way to go for me and my business. I appreciate it, right? So you can expect some of that. You can expect some education wise, some things that you're going to really have to sit down and chew on, right?
Mhm.
And you can also you're going to, as you can hear it already, I'm a believer, right? And I'm also a pastor. So, yep, that's going to be a heavy part
Yeah.
of the community, and that's not to shun someone who isn't necessarily a believer either. It's like, but no, this is what you can expect, because
Mhm,
I'm
mhm.
not going to show up other than how and who I am, right? And I wouldn't expect anyone else to do the same. So, implementation, right? Accountability is something that you can definitely expect, and that's going to come not just in the call, but on building personal relationships. Because as
Mhm.
we commune together, there's going to be other relationships, personal ones that develop, and then you're going to be able to help and support one another, even on a deeper level. So you can expect that all the things that come with community. You can expect all of that stuff. Yep. And more. And
I
more.
love
So
it.
yeah, I'm
I love
looking
it.
forward to it. Yeah, it's exciting to me. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, as you can see, the reason why Zoe is on this call today and that we are collaborating with this community event is because people who are employed entrepreneurs, people who are wanting to get into full time entrepreneurship, you need that space so that you can learn, develop, practice, and thrive in the place that you are and the place that you are becoming and moving into. So, it is bi weekly. I don't know why my brain just switched off. But you see, that's the power of community. It's like you don't have to be perfect. And that's what I really want people to walk away from with this and then consider coming into it. If you're going to wait until you're perfect, I promise you it's not going to happen. You
Yeah,
need to
yeah,
come
yeah.
in, scars and all, without being perfect and being able to lock arms, be sharpened by other people who are like-minded and maybe different-minded, but being able to get a different perspective. So I am going to have my new brother Zoe share one final thought as we close out. And then again, we'll put the description, or one thing before we do this, will people just need to contact you? How do you want us to contact, or how do you want us to contact you to get into the community?
That's a good question there. I ain't even thought about it. Right. So when we relaunch, because this isn't the so and I wanna share this.
Okay.
I first launched the Employed Entrepreneur community. I did it by myself some months ago. And I did it just because I was like, you know what? I just need to get out there and I need to do it. So
Okay.
sometimes I do. And I did. And there was, we had how many people showed up? First call is like 7 or 8 people, right? I was like, oh
Okay.
man, this is a good result. But eventually they started tapering off. So eventually it
Okay.
was me and one person on the call. I was like, you know what? I'm going to deliver that best quality I can to this one person who's showing up.
Mhm.
And we had a conversation. And it's actually an old friend of mine that
Okay.
from 2008, 2009, and I've known for a good little bit. And when was it? 2 weeks ago, my wife and her were on the phone because, of course, since we were talking, she met wifey, right? So
Right, right.
my wife put her on speakerphone, and she was like, "I just want to say thank you so much to both of y'all because I didn't think I was able to do what I've been able to do. And just from getting on a call and then getting connected,
Mhm.
tapping in, getting involved in the network, she's like, I done made a lot of money, right? She was like, and I didn't think, oh man, I'm not going to share her story, right?
Sure.
But because eventually you're going to hear it, especially if you tap into the community, she's going to be involved. So it was just a blessing for me. It was it was an encouragement. And I was like, you know what? I really need to keep this thing going,
Got it.
right? I really need to keep this thing going, but we need to do it in a bigger way. We need to do it and bring more people together so we can get even better results, right?
Okay.
And then also really get what we want out of this thing. So I shared all that just because I don't know why I shared that. Excuse me, brain fart, you know?
It was
It's
it was
out there
relevant.
now though. It's out
Yeah,
there.
it's relevant.
You
Yes.
know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
out
we
there.
got you.
Yeah. So okay, there we go. As far as how you can connect or reach out, we're gonna start posting on social media and we're gonna
Okay.
figure that piece out. I don't really have a plan for it, right? Just to be honest, I don't necessarily have to have every small detail. And
Yep.
that's another little it's another little nugget I'll add or drop on you is like sometimes you just need to take the first step. And then the
Yes.
next step is going to get more clear, right? But just start walking, start journeying,
I love it.
start on your path, right? So once we start launching off these social media posts and that kind of thing, we'll get the community involved. And most likely it'll be via Telegram or something that a lot of people use already, right? Just so
Okay.
that it's easily digestible.
Mhm.
But mainly like social media, comments, emails, we'll figure that piece out.
I
Yeah.
love it.
But for right now, like I'll say you can reach me at Wise Counsel. So it's spelled just like it sounds, WISECOUNSEL. I think that's how you spell counsel, right? Yeah, right off
And
top.
we'll get it clear. Yes, we'll make sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Mhm. Mhm.
Wise Counsel at thesm.org, THESM.org. That's my email. And then, of course, my social media handles at Zoe Avents and Instagram. And if you look up Zoe Avents on Facebook, you'll see me. So they can reach out
Excellent.
that way as well. So those are ways to communicate or connect. If you heard something that you want, you want to link up about or speak about, feel free to reach out. Um, yeah. And as far as the rest of it, we'll get we'll get that stuff figured out. Yeah.
I love it. Let's go. And you know what's beautiful, everybody? This is being done in real time. And as you can see, this is really organic and authentic because that's sometimes what you need to do. A lot of times it's still a plan. Please, please do not hear him saying there's not a plan.
For
It's
sure.
just at
For
this
sure.
piece,
Thank
he's
you for
saying,
that.
"Hey, we'll figure that out." So
Yeah.
let's get that totally clear. So I'm grateful that you're doing that because that goes into the developing and practicing phase. Because when you're an entrepreneur, that's what you have to do sometimes, and that gets you out of an employee mindset of waiting until someone tells you what to do. So that is what
For
we are
sure.
doing today. I want to thank you, sir, for coming on and being willing to explain and share with the community what is going on with the employee entrepreneurs community that is
Yeah,
launching
yeah,
and
yeah.
relaunching. And until we
Oh,
meet, yes,
yeah,
until
yeah.
we meet again, everybody, remember you are worthy, you are special, and you are important. And then again, sometimes we have to take the time to know who we are so that we can stay in that environment where what we are looking to do, we can do. But we also need to remember doing it in the presence of other people who may not be like us, but who are willing to fight with us and for us. It's a beautiful thing. So, my brother, thank you very much.
Blessings. Appreciate you, y'all.
All right. Until we see each other next time, y'all, have a great day and take care.
Peace, people.